everybody. Welcome to the MLB Monkey Knife Fight Show, presented by, obviously, Monkey Knife Fight. I'm Eric Lindquist. I'm alongside my buddy Greg Ehrenberg. We were having a little Zelda chat. I'm a couple years behind the times, but you know what? Better late than never. Greg, how you doing, my dude?
Listen, I mean, it's timeless. First of all, we've talked about this probably even on a show before. I think even recently. I think the Switch is the best gaming console that there is out. It's so much fun just because you play it handheld also, and you just get lost in playing like Zelda or like Pokemon Snap, whatever game you're playing right now. And yeah, I mean, Breath of the Wild came out a little while ago, but Breath of the Wild 2 comes out not too long ago, so a prequel to Breath of the Wild. And yeah, it's a really fun game. But Eric, very frustrated that he's unable to beat Thunderblade Ganon.
Thunderblade Ganon is impossible. This guy is impossible. He has this massive blue axe thing, and all he does is chop you up. He's super fast, and if you don't time your backflip perfectly, you're an absolute, it's a disaster. Anyway, so a couple hours of my life, I'll never get back here trying to beat him. But you know what? We can put our time to good use here right now. We have half an hour. We're going to be discussing Monkey Knife Fight plays. Hit that like button as you're coming in. Hit the notification bell. Hit all the things. What else do I have to say? The subscribe button. Subscribe button's great. Hit the Awesemo Fantasy Football and Awesemo Odds channels as well while you're at it here. But of course, we are talking Monkey Knife Fight today. Thank you so much to them for the sponsorship. We're excited to talk about them. It's a really fun site to be playing on. And if you haven't had the opportunity to go over in there and play, better late than never with that as well. Same way for me and Nintendo Switch. So their player props-based games are easy to play, and they don't require the same amount of time commitment other DFS sites do. The DraftKings and FanDuel with salaries, all of those things can be a disaster. But with Monkey Knife Fight, you're in charge. So whether you want to play the MLB contest we're talking about now, PGA esports, UFC, soccer, and then NFL coming back, NBA coming back later, Monkey Knife Fight has everything. So get started. Go over to monkeyknifefight.com. Use promo code Awesemo. Pick out which game type you want, but get that $100 first match deposit bonus. That's a big part of sustaining and building a bankroll. Both are important facets, but otherwise, we're ready to get to the plays. How you ready to get going?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much MLB trade news going down too. This is going to really impact the slate more so than anything. You know, it's really going to get already a bad team. You know, it's going to be even worse going forward. Your Minnesota Twins, who it looks like are just trading everybody. We've got
fire sale.
Yeah, we've got Josh Gillum in the chat saying the Braves got Eddie Rosario for Pablo Sandoval. Jose Barrios just got traded. It looks like they're pretty close to dealing Byron Buxton as well. There's a whole lot of turnover going on in Minnesota.
What did you just say?
Which part?
Did you just say Byron Buxton is on the move?
Nothing official, but yeah, it's been expected they were going to trade him for a little while. There was the article.
That was not expected.
So Ken Rosenthal wrote an article, I think like 4 days ago, that Byron Buxton wasn't going to agree to a contract extension with the Twins and that they were going to look to move him. He's not young anymore. He's 20. He turns 28 this year. It feels like Byron Buxton's been young for forever because he hasn't played all that much, I guess. And the other thing also is he's been viewed as this up and coming player who's about to break out for so long. And he's played really well over the last year now, but I mean, I think it's sensible. A guy who's going to be 28 years old on a rebuilding team that isn't willing to sign a contract extension there. But yeah, it seems like there's a pretty good chance that he's going to move. And I know this might not have been on the itinerary for today, but you want to just click on the Twins. Do we have Twins contest up for today?
Yeah. So a Monkey Knife Fight, they have absolutely every single game. So we have 15 games. We have every single team in play today. Looking at the Minnesota Twins, you're basically going to be looking at some fantasy outputs. You can't really be bullish on this team whatsoever going forward. But let's see. They might have taken that one off the board here for right now. Yep, yeah, it looks like it's off the board right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, just all the news going down there. I thought there'd be something to maybe take advantage of and check out and see what some of the stuff looks like. Because, pitchers going against the Twins, that seems like it's going to be favorable. Jose Barrios was expected to start today for Minnesota. Now that he's traded, that's obviously no longer going to be the case. That was why I thought there could be value there, but off the board. So never mind.
Well, the Byron Buxton thing, again, this is part of writing content. You're constantly in the cycle of today and looking at everything there. We acquired a package of Austin Martin and Simeon Woods. I don't know who they are. I just know Jose Barrios. Thank you so much for his service. But yeah, he's not the guy I'd be sad to see go. Losing Nelson Cruz was atrocious, and Byron Buxton would hurt even more. But I digress. Let's talk about a team right off the bat we're going to be talking trade deadline leading into Monkey Knife Fight. There is no spot to start other than the New York Yankees. They acquired the lefty bat that they so desired in Joey Gallo here. Let's go to the home run blast of the main games here. You can play Joey Gallo of the New York Yankees in his debut. I know it doesn't seem like the best spot going into Miami here tonight, not the greatest ballpark for power, but it doesn't matter when you have Aaron Judge and Joey Gallo as the guys who are hitting homers. How do you feel about the two of them going up against a guy who's had some decent results in Zach Thompson, but I think regression could be in store for?
Yeah, so Zach Thompson's somebody who it feels like this guy pitches every other day, because I've had a million conversations about this guy over the last couple of weeks. I think part of it also is because there was a time where he was supposed to come into a game as the long reliever and then didn't end up coming into that game. And so then it was like back-to-back days. They ended up having to talk about Zach Thompson. And there was another spot where I think he was pitching the game, got rained out. So then he ended up pitching again the next day. So there was a stretch of like a week where I'd talk about Zach Thompson 4 times. So it feels like he's been on my mind a lot for that reason. But anyway, Zach Thompson's numbers this year, they do look pretty good on paper. He's a 2.45 ERA, 3.53 expected ERA. Here's the issue I have with Zach Thompson as a potential pitcher. If you look at his minor league numbers, they've never been good. He's also a guy who's 27 years old and has toiled in the minor leagues, considered a non-prospect for all this time. And then you consider that, all right, in AAA this year, he had a 6.6 ERA. He also used to be in the White Sox organization. So 2019 in AAA for the White Sox, he had a 5.5 ERA. So it's not really surprising this guy never got called up to the big leagues. It's kind of surprising he did based on these numbers. And then he finally makes it up to the big leagues, and his results are so out of line with what we saw from him in the minor leagues. It's also only 33 innings. We did see him struggle the last time he pitched. So his last outing, he pitched 5 innings. He gave up 3 runs to the Padres. Start before that, 4 innings, 2 runs against the Phillies. Before that, 6 innings, 3 runs against the Braves. It looks like he's starting to regress a little bit. Now, the big issue here is just that this isn't the best power park in the world, and also that we don't know what the Yankees lineup is going to look like today. We haven't gotten an official Yankees lineup yet, have we?
No, nothing official yet.
So, yeah, that would be my biggest concern is we don't know if these guys are actually going to be in the lineup for the Yankees or not, and what it's going to look like because they're going to be losing the DH today. So I do think Zach Thompson is due for some regression heading forward. I just don't know these guys are the most likely to hit homers just because they are playing in National League Park, and it's, a pretty favorable pitcher's park.
Yeah, and you're not going to probably get Stanton in that lineup now that if Joey Gallo is active, there's no way that they're going to put Stanton in the outfield. Too much injury risk for him in a game that, again, they should be able to win and manage no matter what. But we shall see here with that Yankees lineup. But I absolutely love them as 2 pieces of guys that can go yard in that home run derby contest. Of course, $5,000 bonus today for the home run blast. The home run blast contest, if you pick 3 players and all 3 hit a home run, $5 or more for that contest, you win a share of that $5,000 pot. I think that that's as good of a deal as you can find around the industry. You can definitely win on that 0.5 over on the home runs on those, and then just combine it together and you automatically get entered into that pool. So I love that contest for today. My third guy from those main games that I want to put in there, it's kind of surprising out of this entire grouping, but Eric Haas has just been raking of late. And I did not expect anything like this, but he's been hitting hard since he showed up here in the big leagues, going up against Matt Harvey, who I know is your favorite pitcher in all of baseball. So I'm excited to hear what you think about Eric Haas here today. A 49.6% hard hit percentage, 493 expected slugging. Are you in on Eric Haas?
I haven't played him all that much recently. There were some spots where Eric Haas first was breaking into the Tigers lineup where I thought it made sense for traditional DFS, just because he was cheap and wasn't picking up much ownership at that point in time. But now he's just become a guy who's, massively popular all the time. For Monkey Knife Fight purposes, that obviously doesn't matter all that much. But I still think there's guys that are probably more likely to homer than Eric Haas. I'm not totally bought into him as being just this, crazy power hitting catcher that's just going to have this sustained success. Whatever, I don't have a massive issue with him. To your point, he's making really good contact recently. However, somebody else who's making really good contact recently, Joey Votto. So Votto, who for the month of July has a WRC plus of over 200. The last time he didn't homer was during the Cold War or something? When's the last time Joey Votto didn't hit a home run?
Back when he was growing up in Canada.
It's been a minute. The last time he didn't homer, it was about a week ago. So his recent games, series he just had against the Cubs, he homered once, twice, and once. The series before that against the Cardinals, he homered 2 times in that series. Also, the last time that there was a game that Joey Votto did not homer and was July 23rd at this point. The matchup today brings a little bit of uncertainty. Carlos Carrasco's on the mound for the Mets. We've not seen Carrasco pitch this year. I assume he's going to be on some kind of pitch count. We know the Mets bullpen has struggled at times this year. And I just don't know what to expect from Carlos Carrasco. And given that Joey Votto has been playing so well as of late, he seems to have revitalized his career. I like him to keep it going today. He's been one of the best hitters in baseball over, the last month and a half or so, and overall for the season as well. So Carlos Carrasco, maybe a little bit of rust, not knowing what to expect from him. Joey Votto, give me him.
I love that call. Again, Joey Votto, want to talk about a point for good karma. Give a baseball to a little kid at a Cubs game, and all of a sudden, all you do is hit home runs. So congratulations to him for being a better person than either Greg Ehrenberg or myself.
Certainly.
Going over to, what was that?
I said certainly me.
Certainly you. Yeah, no, I have my moments, but also good on Joey Votto, whatever. He's fantastic. Let's talk more home runs. I think that this is a fun subject to kind of be looking at. Sometimes we really focus in on pitchers, and I think pitchers, based especially on our MLB player props tool at Awesemo, are kind of where you're going to find a lot of your value. I want to talk about them here next up, but let's go to the late games here too as well to talk more home runs, because there is that home run contest that you should be playing over on Monkey Knife Fight today. Again, $5 or more gets you entry in order to, if all 3 players hit a home run, you get a share of that $5,000. That is an easy way to just get a crazy bankroll going on Monkey Knife Fight. And normally we see East Coast games with better game environments. Those are kind of the guys you want to target. But in these late games, we have Shohei Ohtani with 37 home runs on the season. We have Matt Olson with 27 home runs on the season. I think both of them in our home run tool come in over 26% as a chance to hit a home run. It's a pretty large odd. Like that's a big number for anybody to hit a home run. I really like those two. I doubt you have much argument about them, but is there a third one from this evening session? I plucked out of the clouds Max Muncy. I think that he's in the middle of this Dodgers lineup that's getting Corey Seager back supposedly today. We'll wait and see about that. But Max Muncy probably batting cleanup now, or maybe in the 2-hole. I absolutely love him going up against Zach Gallen of the Arizona Diamondbacks today. What say you for a third home run guy to add with Ohtani and Olson?
Yeah, so the Dodgers, obviously, they made a huge splash in the trade deadline yesterday. They traded for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. Didn't even have to give up that much. They gave up 2, good but not great prospects, which, I mean, to be able to get Scherzer and Turner back, it seems like it was just because it looked like the Padres had a deal in place for Scherzer, but they weren't willing to pick up a lot of money on his contract, whereas it looks like the Dodgers were more willing to eat a lot of that money that is left on Scherzer's contract. The Nationals were okay with that, so it seems like that's how they were able to land him. But if you do look at our top stacks tool today, we have, of every team on the slate today, the Blue Jays are the most likely team to be the top scoring, 10.2% chance to be the top stack. And the Los Angeles Dodgers right behind them at 7.1%. So I definitely think this is an offense that makes sense to target. As for the individual hitters, though, we don't have Corey Seager to pick from right now, I'm pretty sure. I scanned through the players and didn't see him. Cody Bellinger struggled a little bit this year. So the guy that I'm most apt to go to here is Justin Turner for me personally. So Justin Turner, who isn't traditionally known as a power hitter. He's also, 36 years old at this point in time, but he's hit 18 home runs so far this season. He actually has a 200 ISO. So one of the better power hitting seasons of his entire career. Also has a 142 WRC plus. So yeah, I mean, coming off a year, it was a really down year for Turner last year. He only hit 4 home runs. It looks like he's going to hit a career high in homers this year, potentially even his first ever 30 home run season at age 36. So give me Justin Turner.
That's a great call. See, these are why we do the shows, because now I got to go and revamp my own Monkey Knife Fight exposures here. You can also cancel and then add in a new play. That's a nice thing that you can do up to an hour before lock. So if somebody gets scratched, if somebody gets traded, if something happens, you are covered at Monkey Knife Fight. You can breathe easy. That's another nice part about playing over there. Whereas on a DFS site, if they get pulled or something happens and you just don't catch it, which you should be subscribed to the @Awesemo MLB notifications from the news god, who will let you know when things happen, if anything goes down here before the trade deadline. But we should have enough window of time where nothing crazy or wonky should happen, going up to a 7:05 p.m. Eastern time lock time. But yeah, I love that Turner call. That's fantastic. The pitchers that I really want to talk about, and I'm curious if you've dug into this guy at all, because this is kind of what I based my entire MLB slate starter article on today. But I love going to this Milwaukee and Atlanta game. So Corbin Burns kind of by default. 7.5 strikeouts just seems like too low of a number. Give me more for him, but he's not really the talking point here. The talking point is Touki Toussaint, who at 5.5 here, I'm still looking at more than 5.5 for him. He pitched on Sunday, and it was a guy that I was extremely bullish on because he's introduced this sinker. I mean, not introduced. He only threw it 5% of the time. He had an 8.88 ERA in 2020 and was just abysmal. But after being on the 60-day IL, comes back. He is throwing this sinker. He's throwing it, the sinker. He's throwing it 60% of the time here now, and he's locating it. A guy with a notorious walk problem, but he's always had the strikeout stuff and the breaking stuff capable of getting swings and misses so long as he's ahead in the counts. What have you seen from Touki Toussaint in his 2 outings so far coming off of the IL? And are you bullish on him today?
It's hard to say because it's only 13 innings. And if you look at his minor league numbers, he made 4 starts in minor leagues this year and actually made more than 4 starts. He made a total of 6 minor league starts, ramping up to pitching in the MLB. He didn't find success in the minor leagues. So in AA, at 4.91 ERA and a 3.72 FIP. In AAA, he had a 4.32 ERA, a 3.68 FIP. So he's been really successful in his 2 big league starts so far. And, like you said, 29.4% strikeout rate. Here's the biggest concern I have for him. His velocity is way down this year compared to where it was before he got hurt. So 92.6 average fastball velocity. The last time we saw Touki Toussaint in the major leagues last year, he had a 94.3 average fastball velocity. So to see this kind of a dip is pretty concerning to me. Then also combined with the fact that he wasn't successful in the minor leagues. It's 13 innings, and who knows what we could really pull from that. He only pitched 20 minor league innings also. He is somebody who is formerly regarded really well as a prospect. He's only 25 years old. There was a point in time where he was considered, top 50-ish or so prospect in baseball. But I still tend to not buy into him. I think he's going to regress going forward. To me, it's just kind of a stay away. I tend to be more on the side of he's going to be worse going forward than continue to have any sort of this kind of success. But I'm not totally sure.
Yeah, I think the unknown of it can be a little freaky. He's only thrown 2 fastballs in his first 2 starts. So the fastball velocity for me isn't necessarily as concerning for it. Again, this is a guy that I was just trying to figure out what to do with on Sunday because he seemed to jump off the page for me and I didn't know why. Obviously, he had 1 good outing and you don't want to cling to that, but the sinker being thrown 58.6% of the time here, it's not generating swings and misses, but it's getting in the zone. He's getting ahead in counts. And then his curveball and his split finger, 61% whiff percentage and 38.5% whiff percentage on those 2 pitches. Those are kind of the ones that he's going to when he's ahead in counts here. And he's only had 2 walked batters through the 2 innings. I think for me, just so long as this guy is locating, he's always had the strikeout stuff. That's never been an issue. But man, the walks have always been an issue and always plagued him. North of 13% walk rate in all 3 seasons that he's been in the big leagues. So just a guy to keep your eye on. Maybe you don't have to be going this direction. Corbin Burns is a piece of a lot of plays. Perhaps let's do this then. Let's go to the more or less main games type. Corbin Burns, more than 7.5. I'm assuming that you're in line with that. Yes.
Yeah, if you look at our MLB player props tool, we have Corbin Burns with a 36% or 70% chance, to have more than 7.5 strikeouts. Considering that kind of number, that's something that makes a whole lot of sense to me to be more on that number. I think that it's pretty likely to be more of that number than under it, just based on our numbers. 70-30 split, so 70% chance he's going to be over. So totally agree with that. I've been really high on Corbin Burns for basically this entire season. I did take him to win the NL Cy Young before the season. Obviously, at the time, it seemed good relative to the odds. It doesn't matter now because Jacob deGrom is so much better than everybody else. But the results from the season so far, 2.12 ERA, 1.82 expected ERA, 36.6% K rate. And even if that does seem ridiculous because it is, he had a 36.7% K rate last year. So he strikes out over a third of the hitters he faces. So definitely, I think more than 7.5 strikeouts makes a ton of sense for Corbin Burns.
Yeah, pretty unfair that Jacob deGrom's in like the middle of the best pitching season of all time. That's not very helpful in that future. That's not really any slight against Corbin Burns. He's just been fantastic. Slate high strikeout rate. Sign me up for more than 7.5 against an Atlanta team that, yeah, they plugged Jock Peterson in there to try to make up for Ronald Acuna, but that's still a guy who strikes out at near 25% of the time, and it's going to continue forward for him. He has some power, but Corbin Burns should be able to handle him at the top of this lineup for sure. The other guy to talk about here is Lance Lynn, who actually leads our top pitchers tool over for other main sites. Lance Lynn going up against this Cleveland team that could also see some sells as we're on live right now. We could see some Cleveland guys on the move. They already moved Cesar Hernandez over to the White Sox, which, they're playing the White Sox here today. That'll be fun. But either way, Lance Lynn, how do you feel about 7.5 strikeouts for him on Monkey Knife Fight today?
Yeah, by the way, the odds-on favorites win the AL Cy Young now after both Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon were absolutely awful yesterday, where, I was really excited. I was like, all right, Carlos Rodon, Cy Young time early in the day, because like, Garrett Cole is just getting absolutely blasted. He gives up 10 runs.
Producer Tyler victory lapping over there? What's happening?
I think his dog did something, but he called that. That is Carlos Rodon. At least Rodon wasn't as bad as Garrett Cole. He just wasn't really able to get going yesterday. Ended up giving up 4 runs in 4 innings. Not quite the 10 runs that Cole gave up, but either way now, Lance Lynn is now our favorite to win the Cy Young Award. But I totally agree with you. I just think given the matchup here, and it seems like he's going to be facing a pretty limited lineup. And Lance Lynn's numbers for the year, 1.91 ERA, 2.71 expected ERA. What's also nice about Lance Lynn, kind of a rubber arm, something that's a little bit lost in today's game of baseball. He's got at least 6 innings now in 4 consecutive starts. He generally tends to get a longer leash than most starting pitchers, pretty regularly goes over 100 pitches. That obviously always helps with the strikeout stuff. And he's not the greatest strikeout pitcher in the world, but his ability to work deeper into games, that kind of offsets that a little bit. And then also the matchup here. So, I agree with you. I'm going to take the more than with Lance Lynn.
So not to toot your horn or anything for you, but I think you're probably one of the sharpest guys that I've ever met in the industry in terms of prospective buying into a team or buying into a situation before it becomes a thing. You've done it with the Packers. You've done it multiple times in the NBA with the Suns. It seems as though you've always kind of had a penchant for picking out a team that will have some value on it. With this trade deadline coming up here in the next, hour and a half we have left or so. So just over an hour that we have left before the trade deadline. Is there a value piece on this slate or a play that you're identifying that could be stronger now than the number you might get on it an hour and a half from now? Is there a team or a pitcher that you might want to target that you think the trade deadline could impact their line in such a way where you want to be buying in right now?
All right. So here's where I'd start with this. Any team that's going up against a bad team for a number of reasons, right? Mm-hmm. Bad team in terms of a team that's out of contention that we've already seen start to sell off pieces. And some of them it's already going to be accounted for. So let's look through just the overall contest and teams that we expect to be sellers. The Nationals, they've already sold off most of the team. We know they're going to be sellers, but Trevor Williams is on the mound and, whatever. I think we're kind of already adjusted for there. Trey Turner's already gone. Max Scherzer's gone. Carl Schwarber's gone. He was on the injured list anyway, so we could look past that spot. Let's see. What are some of the other ones? Mets, Reds. Marlins are always a seller, but I don't know if that's going to matter for here. I kind of feel like we already talked about it with the Lance Lynn spot going up against Cleveland because we've seen some of those guys get traded. By the way, we just got here we go. Twins Cardinals contests are up now.
There we go. Let's take a look at that. All right. I don't even know who's starting for the Twins now. I mean, it's just such a wonky day. It's got more or less. So Wade LeBlanc, 3.5 strikeouts going up against the Twins. That's a fascinating number because 3.5 is very, very low here. The projected starter for the Minnesota Twins here today is Griffin Jax, by the way. Gives up some moonshots, 24-degree launch angle, 68 batted balls in play. He won't be going very long, it doesn't look like in this game. 470 expected slugging, 20.6% K percentage. But yeah, not stretched out. But Wade LeBlanc has an ungodly low 14.7% K percentage. But looking at this projected Twins lineups, especially, I don't know if anybody else is going to move between now and then, but I got to think Josh Donaldson can't get moved. Maybe he does, but I doubt it. Jorge Polanco. They still have some guys with low K percentage, K percentages there, but between Sano, who's just a walking strikeout, Trevor Larnach, would you possibly be looking at more than 3.5 strikeouts for Wade LeBlanc here?
Yeah, it's a really low number, and there's a couple things here to talk about with Wade LeBlanc. First of all, he's just starting to get stretched out. So if you're just looking at his numbers going strikeouts per game and being like, he's only exceeded 3 strikeouts once the entire year. It was his last start. And then number 2, he was a guy who's pitching out of the bullpen earlier in the year. and wasn't really making it very deep into games. He's thrown over 80 pitches now in back-to-back outings. He hadn't done that once the entire season before the last couple of games. So now LeBlanc looks fully stretched out. I'd expect him to get, he's probably not good enough in general to work 7 or 8 innings into a game, but 4 or 5 innings, I think, is totally reasonable. And it looks like there's a pretty good chance that the Twins are mostly going to be playing minor league type hitters today. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Josh Donaldson end up getting traded as well, maybe even a couple of other guys. We've already seen some Minnesota players on the move, and it looks like they're going to just try to trade whoever anybody would be willing to take at this point.
Yeah, so 3.5 strikeouts. I like the more on that. And Josh Donaldson, who knows if he'll even be there. But yeah, as I said, I don't know if they can make that move with him. Somebody would have to want to eat a lot of salary. We'll see how that ends up panning out. But Wade LeBlanc, definitely an interesting talking point. I doubt Griffin ends up getting any kind of a line put next to him, but we shall see. Are there any other pitchers? So we've talked a lot, obviously, we talked about the home runs on the front end. We've talked a lot of trade implications, some possible value here and there. Is there a pitcher that you're identifying a prop line of that you really want to be invested in today?
Yes. And it's going to be for the opposite reason of what you just said. But we have John Gray John Gray might not even end up starting this game because he's somebody who's on the trade block. But anyway, John Gray right now is projected to start for the Colorado Rockies. The Padres are a team that are going to be looking to upgrade their lineup. And obviously these guys aren't going to be in the lineup today or anything like that. But I think John Gray, just the fact that he's on the trade block and who knows what that could do to him, potentially mentally, but more or less 5.5 strikeouts for him. If you look at John Gray in our top prop school, we actually do have an 80% chance of him having less than 5.5 strikeouts. So that in itself, him going up against a quality team that is looking to compete, that we don't have to worry about selling off pieces, that to me looks like a pretty strong pitcher to be fading as well.
I love that call. You compare him with Fernando Tatis on the other side and take the more perhaps on 1.5 hits and walks. That's a pretty tight line. Some of those are difficult. I like when you can get something 1.5 and it seems like a positive under here. Tatis, 1.5 hits or walks. Do you have any kind of a lean whatsoever on that?
I think just because you mentioned it, just because of the correlation here, if I'm going to go with less than for John Gray, there's just positive correlation getting more than with Fernando Tatis. So I would say that line 1.5 is probably about fair for Tatis. However, if I do think there's value on less than 5.5 strikeouts for John Gray, might as well just combine that with the more than for Tatis.
Love that. That half hour absolutely flew. Greg, any final words for the people as we close out the show?
No, that'll do it for us. Just where could people sign up? What promo code could they use, Eric?
Well, they could use promo code Awesemo. Thank you so much for that. First deposit bonus, $100 all the way up to $100. That is free money put into your account instantly over at Monkey Knife Fight. Thank you so much to them. Thank you so much to Greg Ehrenberg for all of his expertise today. I'm Eric Lindquist. Best of luck in the contest tonight.